Okay, class, now we're going to look at how to use library databases to search for journal articles so that we can use them for our research. And one of the reasons why I want you to use the databases versus doing a search on using a search engine like Google is because there is so much information out there, and not all of that information is good information. So research is very different from the way I did it when I was an undergrad. In fact, it wasn't until I think it was my junior year that we really started using databases. And one of the first databases was LexisNexis. But prior to that time, I still had to go through the card catalog and find research that way and find the actual journals and use the copy machine and copy those pages. And so things are a little bit easier for you in terms of managing the information itself, in terms of retrieving the information. But what you have very differently than what I have is you have an exorbitant amount of information, and not all of it is good quality information. Some of it is you kind of apply the CRAP test to it, which is an acronym, CRAAP, but it kind of gives you the impression there's a lot of crap out there, and so you have to kind of sift through that. So you want to find things that are current, and that's sometimes hard to do online. We want to find things that are relevant, and again, that can be difficult. Even using the journal articles, we're going to see that in a few minutes, that you might come across a lot of things that aren't necessarily relevant to what you're researching. And then you want to find things that have authority, and that's probably the biggest place on the internet that's very difficult to determine, is if this really is a reputable, credible source. And then you want to find accuracy, and again, that's another thing on the internet. Anyone can create a website and put lots of information on there, and then lots of people copy information and they don't give proper attribution to it. So that also makes it difficult to find quality information. So, and then the last part, P, is purpose. And so there's a lot of times on the internet there are things that have a commercial purpose to it, which is not always which sometimes can create bias and other types of problems. For example, I've had students, when I often allow them to choose whatever topic. If in 102 I allow you to choose whatever topic you want to. I usually use a topic in 101, like the bullying topic, that we could work through as an example together. But in 102, in one of your research papers, I allow students to choose any topic. So I've often have the topic of like steroid use, and I had some students write papers on steroid use in sports, and sometimes they narrow it down to baseball. And so I had a particular student that found some research online using Google or one of those types of internet searches, and a lot of his information seemed pretty biased. And one of the reasons why is because it was on a site that sold supplemental products that were supplements that were like steroids. So of course they're only going to put the best information out there, or put information that supports what they're trying to sell out there. It's kind of like when you are looking for political candidates and you're trying to get an overview of what that candidate is really like. You don't want to just go to that candidate's website because they're only going to have the best things about him or her on there. It's like when you have your resume and you put all of your good stuff on your resume to give a good snapshot of you in your professional career. And if you've had some setbacks or made some mistakes or had some time in between jobs, I mean, in between jobs you do have to explain some of that, but most of the time, again, you're only going to put your best foot forward. And again, that's why you want to avoid commercial type of websites, because they're not going to give you the full truth. So we're going to stick with journal articles. I'm going to have you get exposed to journal articles. Some of them are very, if it's a peer-reviewed journal article, while those can be very good, and I hope you find at least one of those, I'm not expecting you to only do that, because that's a lot of dense information. And I'm not expecting you at this level of class to only exclusively deal with those. So you might find a newspaper article, or you might find an article from a popular magazine like Time Magazine that deals with bullying. There have been special even magazines that are dedicated just for that subject. It's a special issue. So again, those are things that that you can find in the databases. So let's kind of get started of databases. So online databases are web-based electronic indexes that enable you to locate and retrieve articles in magazine, journals, and newspapers. So it's kind of a one-stop shop for all of these articles, and the library actually pays a monthly fee to access these subscriptions for you. And of course that comes out of your tuition, but you have that availability. And there's a couple different types of databases. There's the multi-disciplinary, comprehensive, like Academic Search Premier, which goes across the disciplines, to subject specific, like the Modern Language Association, which deals with English and things that have to do with literature and grammar and English. That would be a particular database if you wanted to search something in that discipline. And then there's full text versus citation only. So full text is what I'm hoping that you'll draw from, and I highly recommend it. If it's only a citation, that means you have to go to the actual library and pull it up, but I'm not expecting you to do that, and I'm not sure how comprehensive our library is anyway. So most of what you'll do, if not everything that you do for this paper, and even in your 102 classes, you can find full text articles for. Okay, locating and retrieving relevant articles. Each database has its own search interface and capabilities. We're going to look at two that I'm going to guide you at, actually 3 of them, but Opposing Viewpoints, and that has a pretty easy searchable database. And then we're going to also use Academic Search Elite, or you could use Academic Search Premier. And then those actually have an advanced search feature where you can really narrow in and hone in on your key search terms. So keyword searching is really important, and you might want to change some of the words. So for example, if we're looking at bullying and teens, you might want to change the word teen to youth, and it could give you some different outcomes. So you could find synonyms, and that can also help your search, and you've probably already had experience doing that. You can use limiters. So we'll talk about limiters. Like for example, you might want to find articles within the last 10 years and seeing what it looks like in the last 10 years versus what bullying looked like 20 or 30 years ago. For example, when I was a youth 30 years ago, we didn't have online bullying. We didn't have social media. So cyberbullying wasn't an issue at that time. And bullying was very limited to just those in your peer group right around you, where now the bullying can be much larger than that. It's not so much localized anymore. So again, you can use limiters to help you with that. And then bullying operators also help you. That's where you use like bullying and teens, or bullying and teens or youth. So it helps create more words or limiting the words. What are some common searching problems and solutions? Well, some of the problems are that you find a lot of information. So if we just put bullying, we're going to get lots of articles, and that's why we want to make sure that we limit it down. Where can you find more assistance from some of the library's databases? You can actually go onto the library website, and they have different information that they've published for you. And then also you can go on to, you can also talk to the librarians. There's lots of different ways that you can get help. So keyword searching is the easiest search method, but maybe less precise, but that's what I really want you to use for our purposes, is key search words. Databases and collect, sort, and present information according to field. So you might have author, title of article, subject, publication name. To make your search more specific, you may select one or more fields to do a keyword search, and that's where you go into an advanced search to do that. To expand your search, you may search for keywords in all basic or default fields, and I'll show you that when I go through the databases with you. Okay, with limiters are database functions that let you narrow your search results. Database limiters may include scholarly, peer-reviewed, publication year, full text, language, etc. And then Boolean operators are words that join words together. So if I said bullying and cyberbullying, then it would pull up articles that have both of those in there. And then if I said teen, or both those words together, so it would only pull up articles that had those two words, bullying and cyberbullying, together. And if I did teens or youth, then it would pull up articles that had teens somewhere in there or youth somewhere in there. So or link synonyms, alternative forms of expression, acronyms, and so on. If you want to expand your search, use Boolean operator or to connect additional words. First grade or elementary school. Or if you're talking about Boolean, high school or secondary education or 12th grade. So different ways that you can search. Citation list is too long. Narrow your search using additional terms connected by and, or limit your search by limiter functions. Try to find the official descriptor subject heading that matches your keywords in the thesaurus or subject index provided by the database. No citations. Check the spelling of your search terms. Eliminate one or more of your search terms. And it could be that your search is too narrow and they haven't done research on it, but typically it's readjusting your search terms. Okay, so search words. So in terms of watching the film, there's a lot of different places you could go with this. You could talk about bullying and teen suicide. That's how Anderson Cooper started his conversation. And it wasn't just about teen suicide, but that happened it started about a decade ago. And it is such a horrible thing to happen that it grabs people's attention, and it really makes them, just like Anderson Cooper said, how do we keep this from happening again? How do we keep it from being a never-ending story of teen suicide due to bullying? And that's what got him interested in the topic. But his piece wasn't just about teen suicide. It was basically an overview of why how bullying is happening in our society in high school and middle school. And he brought in people to share exactly what's happening. But that may be a limitation. That may be a limiter that you want to do. Maybe it's just bullying and teen suicide that you want to write about. Or maybe it's cyberbullying in females. And the reason why I put females on there versus males is because research shows that females cyberbully a lot more than males do. And there's a lot of different reasons for that. And that may be something you're interested in. Why do females cyberbully more? So do the research and see if you can find that out. Bullying and intervention. Anderson Cooper's piece really talked about interveners and how interveners, how they struggle getting involved, and they really didn't talk about why they struggle getting involved, and maybe that's something you want to research. I would think that part of it is because of the fallout. What can happen to them? Or what can happen to them in terms of being bullied, or sometimes when people intervene, they might get in trouble for that. About a year ago, there was a young man who was blind, and he was being bullied at school by another young man, and a football player saw that in the hallway and intervened, and his level of intervention was pretty, he was very upset over it, and he wanted to protect this young man, and so he actually hit the person that was being the bully. And so I'm not saying that's necessarily the appropriate way to respond, but certainly the fallout was this young man was actually cut from the team and had a lot of negative repercussions because of the way that he chose to intervene. And he did it at the last minute. And so sometimes we intervene in the emotions and we're not taught how to appropriately intervene. So if I was writing a paper, I may start off with that story and talk about the importance of not going overboard with the way the interveners are treated, but maybe to educate them and help that young man to learn better ways to intervene versus making it where he doesn't want to intervene at all because he's so afraid of the fallout. But with this young man, actually, the social society was so outraged over that he ended up being reinstated at his football team. Or maybe you want to talk about bullying and sexual orientation, and then I used a limiter, or a Boolean phrase, sexual orientation or identity. Bullying and social combat, they talked about that, or social status, and you might want to examine that as your topic. Or bullying and perpetrators. One of the things that Dr. Phil talks about is that we want to be careful of being so extreme with how we treat bullies in some respects, that maybe we want to look at it situational instead of doing a one-size-fits-all in terms of how we punish them, because oftentimes bullies have been bullied themselves. Or bullying, what are the red flags for bullying? So that may want to be your topic. So I'm going to end here, and then I'm going to do one more PowerPoint to actually take you into the databases and do an actual search. With the screencast software that I have, it only allows me to do 15 minutes at a time, which might be good for you because you may only have 15 minutes at a time to watch it. So so what I want you to do right now is kind of focus on some key search terms that you might want to look at, and then I'll show you how to use the databases, and then you can do your own.